Hello, we continue with the Roadless Travel, chapter 39 now, the miracle of health, and we are starting a new section which is called Grace. And Grace, this section will try to explain somehow this thing that we've been talking about from the previous chapters about miracles, and that miracles don't have to be this amazing displays of things, that they don't have to be, actually the doctor said here, they don't have to be unpredictable, because he has found during his practice, or he had found during his practice, that actually miracles were really predictable from his point of view. For example, we could predict how things would turn out, and how, when, why a person, for example, could develop. He would know the exact, he and all the practitioners of psychiatry could find where a person could have developed, for example, neurosis. They could find the exact moment, so they could predict other cases that would end up as an illness, mental disorder, or wherever. However, I want to start by the beginning, and this chapter begins with I don't think I can leave, because this is copyrighted, I don't think I can leave this. I think this is a song, is written like a lyric here, and the doctor says then that it is an American evangelic song or hymn. I think this could be sung on a church or something like that. I don't really know. I had no idea where this is coming from. It's some kind of poem or lyrics speaking about the amazing things, and also about the amazing health. So he says here the word amazing is associated with grace. And it reminded me of a different song, which is called Amazing also, but Aerosmith. And he has also been on a movie, famous for a movie, Armageddon, from the 90s, I think, or early 2000s, something like that. And so yes, amazing is related to grace. And again, we tend to think that these miraculous things, or these things that happen, are unpredictable, as I say, that they are all out of the ordinary completely. However, the doctor again thinks that they are more predictable than we think they could be. And the thing that will be really unpredictable and unexplainable, maybe we will never actually know how, or to what extent, the reality or the nature of this grace, of these miracles, is really. We know that they happen, we somehow can predict them according to the doctor, but we cannot explain why they happen. For example, the doctor mentions his own case. When he was a child, he was walking on a street that was, due to the snow and the ice, it was really slippery, and he slipped through the street he was trying to cross, and then a car was coming really, really fast, and suddenly he found himself trapped between the four wheels of the car, but he was completely unharmed. And he was super scared, and he got up and ran to his home completely unharmed. So we could say that was a miracle. And he cannot explain why that happened. So the reality, he says, of this grace, of this event can't be explained, but and we can call them miracles. But there are some other cases where we can explain or we can predict, especially again when he mentions here about neurosis. He can explain exactly when, how, and why a patient would develop neurosis or will start developing through different symptoms. A neurosis that could be of different gravity. Gravity is not the word. The different severities. It could be mild. It could be really low, and that kind of thing. But he can predict it through his practice of psychotherapy and also psychiatry. And at the same time, he says, I can predict exactly when, why, and how a person will or has developed this neurosis, but I cannot predict, and that is the grace part or the miraculous part, why other people with the same apparent symptoms or the same traumas, I could say, under the same circumstances, they are still seem untouched, or maybe they develop a less severe trauma than a person that has had exactly or very similar kind of traumas. So that is what he calls grace, the things that we cannot really understand why they happen. And it also happens in medicine, in general medicine or clinic medicine, when, for example, people could predict this person has died or has contracted this illness because of this specific virus. But why is it that there are other people that maybe have the same virus, but they don't have the same symptoms, or they don't seem to have any problem with the illness, or maybe they don't become ill at all? And this has to do these kind of things that seem like miraculous, or for example, when people have a terminal illness, like in a terminal state of cancer, and then apparently out of nowhere they are cured. These things happen, and they are kind of unexplainable, or they are miraculous. So the doctor talks here in this chapter about two concepts that he can abstract as patterns for our health. It could be our mind, or our mental health, or physical health. There are actually two patterns, mechanisms of way of functioning that are resistant, or the resistant systems that we build in order to not get the illness, or not get bad, let's say, or not get a bad health. And the other one is like kind of opposite, the proneness to having certain illnesses, or certain illnesses, or for example accidents. There are people that seem really, really prone to have a lot of accidents. I know several people that they would for example I don't know, like they would hit everything when they walk with on the streets, or when they walk in their house. They are constantly hitting things, for example. That's proneness. Or there are people who are prone to getting illness all the time. And we are not talking about hypochondriacs. That's the word. And we are just talking about people that really get ill, and they have a lot of illness. I have many illness in my life, but I think there are people that I know that have everything that's go around they get. And maybe you also know those kind of people, and you may also know people that have never had any illness in their life. And now I can mind actually a movie that I don't really know the name or anything, but there was a person that was all the time ill. He had this what we vulgarly call crystal bones. The people that break, you almost look at them and they break their bones. This terrible illness. And there was another person that would never have anything, would never have had anything in their lives, and they meet each other. And it's an old movie, but so yes, you could say those are the opposite mechanisms, and of course extreme, about how we have this relationship to our health. And in both cases, in both extremes or both extreme mechanisms, we don't really know how they happen. How are people that are ill all the time, and how are people that are never ill? And some people say, the doctor mentions here some, we could say, street ideas or ideas, general ideas from people around the world. Some say this could be in both, for example, in the case of resistance systems we are building, they say, okay, these people never get ill because they have a survival instinct developed. Or others say some accidents happen to certain people, even when you say, there are cases when people say, for example, in a car accident, no one could have survived that accident, for example, and you see people walking unharmed and completely in a great state with not even a scratch. And in those cases, you could say, oh, they live charmed lives. It's like they have. I had a case that somebody told me, you have a God on your own, because I had these kind of things once. And there are some other cases where people say, well, that's synchronicity, because they weren't supposed to go right now, or because, I don't know, whatever, right? Others said, for example, it has to do with the unconscious, and this is my less favorite one. Actually, it's my unfavorite, if we could say that. That people blame you because you are the one manifesting that, or because you are the one having had certain pre-written contract from another life, previous life, those kind of things. So there are many things that can be said about these mechanisms. And the doctor says we don't really know about most of them, if that's the real explanation, but we will explore one that I have mentioned before, which is called unconscious, right? Because we have our unconscious mind that may have something or some part in this, both building resistance systems for our health, and also in the proneness to accidents or to illnesses or to wherever it is. So in the next chapter, we will be exploring that, the unconscious and the miracle of the unconscious. Well, I made a really short sum up of all of it. The doctor mentions other cases here too, about a little boy that he was prone to accidents, and another one about and this could be interesting. He mentions about a successful businessman who had had a lot of traumas in his childhood. He had been abandoned by his mother because his mother was mentally ill. He lived in foster houses, in different foster houses, where he was treated very badly. Well, he had gone through hell, as we normally call it. And however, he was a successful businessman. He was a loving father. He was a leader in the community, and he was some kind of, we could say, as we mentioned before, like a charm-lived person, that he had all the traumas, he had been able to overcome them. So we could also call this kind of cases like a miracle, right? Even though all the all the predictions could have been in the side that he would be a person with a mental illness. And the doctor said, I don't know how, he only had a mild neurosis that we were able to work through therapy, and he was perfectly fine after that. So yes, we have some cases where people with, we could say, minor traumas cannot get over them, and they develop a mental disorder or a mental illness. And however, there are people that undergoes through terrible traumas in their lives and so many things, and however they overcome them, and that could be taken as a miracle, right? So anyways, that's it about this topic about the miracle of health. And I again cannot recommend enough if you can read this chapter, because it's really interesting. And having said that, thank you for being up to here, and please comment if you want to, if you feel like it, as always, and see you next Sunday. Bye bye.
This is Between the Lines. Today, we dissect the road less traveled. Stay tuned for Ulua's next episode.